Alright guys, so if you want to start Inferno, you start with Garant. He has basic stats of 1 Might, 1 Magic, and 2 Destiny. And he has Primal and Fire, which is quite... both of them are really good spell skills actually. It is a super aggressive Inferno. And it's like Red Deck in MTG, I would say. It is quite similar in a few ways. So normally, if you play Garant, to get a good deck going on as fast as possible, what you want to go for is quite simple. It's damaging creatures, and it's spell that's going to help you do damage, and it's spell that does damage. That's it. It's all about damage in Garant, mostly, at the beginning that is. So the cards you want to go for that have value is, first of all, Maniacs. You want to at least play 3 of them. 1 cost, 1 might requirement. For 2/1/2 is actually quite strong. If you can put like 2 or 3 in the beginning, it can really help you get the snowball going and make it happen quick. Sorry, just a little bit of music. Moving on, there's the Succubus. It's a 2 cost, and of course you get the 1 magic for free with Garen, so you don't have to think about it. 2 damage, 4 HP, it is quite strong, it has a lot of value. It's probably one of the best 2-drops in the game, similar to the Lich in the Corpalus side. It works quite fine. I really like playing this because you actually have a lot of melee creatures in the Inferno. So it's important to have a few of these shooters to be able to maximize the potential of your battlefield as fast as possible. However, if you want to go for a melee creature, there's a few possible options as well with Garant. So Demented is decent because it has immune to retaliation mostly. And it has sweep attack as well. Sweep attack can work, but most of the time the opponent, what he's going to do is that he's going to play the creatures in a zigzag, so that he can't get more, he can't get damage from the sweep attack. Or he's going to remove the creature. He's going to make something happen to kill it. And what's bad about the Demented is that it has 3 HP, therefore it is super weak against Earth School, since they have Insect Swarm. Moving on, Hellfire Imp. Quite the damage there for the cost, right? It could have a potential there, because you can play the Hellfire behind melee creatures, so sometimes it can be worth it. However, 2 HP is super weak. It dies to one of the basic spells, Firebolt, which I'm gonna talk about real quick in the Fire Schools, yeah. So it is super weak. So easy to kill that sometimes it's not worth it to play. However, might be decent if I want to go for like full attack there on the damage. Moving on, what you should aim for is, they're super cheap as well. After that, for the 3 costs, is Juggernauts. They get 4 damage for only 3 costs. It's probably one of the best 3-drops out there. And definitely the most aggressive 3-drops as well. The 4 damage, 4 HP is super hard to deal with if you're the opponent. If you're the guy facing that creature. Normally, when you see that in the field, the opponent has to think of a way to kill it as soon as possible, because the 4 damage is quite a threat. So that's something you want to go for. It's a common too, so probably doesn't take a lot of wildcards. Try to get them reinforcement back, it's awesome. Try to get 4 to 3 of them, it's definitely a great card. Moving on, if you have a chance to hit those, if you want to go for like aggressive, it works just fine. It's a Succubus that costs one more might as well. But it does a damage that is unblockable. So it could be useful in some kind of deck you want to go for more damage. So if you hit a few of these called the Void, definitely try to play them, it's worth it. So I only talked about the Juggernaut because it is the best creature in my opinion for the 3 cost. There's other options, but try them out for yourself and see how you like them. But in my opinion, those Juggernauts are definitely the best. Moving on. For the 4 cost, there's a few creatures that can be really worth it. The first creature is Linim. It is probably the most defensive shooter out there for the cost, and it even has 3 damage. This card is ridiculous. Every faction would like to have Linim as their shooter. The 8 HP is so hard to kill, and it has a 3 damage potential, and it only costs 4. It's ridiculous. Try to get at least 3 of them. I would definitely recommend 4 of them in almost any kind of Inferno deck. It survives to a lot of wipes, board wipes there, so that card is amazing. Definitely a card we want to go for when you start Inferno. Moving on, if you play Garant, I would definitely recommend Ravager. Of course, it's the upgrade of the Juggernaut. It has 1 retaliation and 2 damage, and 6 damage potential is super scary. It kills almost any creatures one shot, which is a nice thing for sure. And 6 damage to the opponent is quite awesome, and 4 HP, as I said, is just decent. It's fine. And that's what we want to go for if you go Inferno. You don't want to stabilize, you don't want to wait until I'll control the battlefield. What you want to go for is damage, make it happen as fast as possible. Moving on. This creature is awesome as well, Void Arbiter, but it is mostly used for control decks in Inferno. And yeah, it's advanced tactics, so feel free to actually check the fan websites. Really, it's a good way to learn how to build decks, like mmduckking.com, and try to see what's the new decks out there for various heroes, and you'll figure out by yourself how does it work, what's the requirement you should go for if you want to go for a different kind of gameplay. But if you have a chance to get a few of these, eventually if you want to go for control, because this ability is quite strong, players cannot draw cards outside of their supply phase. It is a snowballing ability, it is quite strong, but it's not useful if you want to go for Garant, mid-range rush, or rush. So definitely try to get these. 6 damage is so scary, it's awesome. And I don't think you should even go further than 4 might if you want to play Garant. However, if for like any particular reason you want to try like bigger creatures, and you need, or you don't have enough creatures, you need to go for 1 more might, go for 5, that's it. Because there's a few really good cards at 5 might for Inferno. The first one is Doombringer. Not only does it have 4 damage, it has 3 retaliation and 6 HP. Decent stats, but the ability, when it dies, destroys all creatures in play. So it's one of the few cards that actually helps you get back in the game once you get in snowball that. You can even put it as blocker in front of a big row as an example of melee and shooter creatures. Definitely worth it to try it out. And also it works efficiently with the event, how's it called? Give me a second guys, I'm gonna show you. The event is called Week of the Dead. It costs, I believe, 1 to destroy your own creatures. So if you use this in association with Doombringer, you can by yourself wipe the board at the time you really want to do it. Because the negative point of Doombringer is that if it sticks alive and the opponent uses it whenever he wants to, with Dark Magic as an example, his ability by killing it can get you quite into trouble. So if you play Doombringer, you want to go for these, definitely worth it. Moving on, let's get back to Inferno well quick and the spell schools. 5 might. I tried a few of these Hellfire Juggernauts. These seem quite nice. You see 7 HP, you're like, wow, that's amazing, right? 3 HP dies to Insect Swarm, and Insect Swarm is a spell card that's being played way too much, so you don't want to go for like 5 resources that's gonna die to Insect Swarm. And that's why I recommend Juggernaut, only because it has 1 more HP, and it makes a big difference, trust me. You can try them out. Sometimes it's fun because it just kills them in 3 shots, right? 7 damage, 20 HP. But most of the time, it's not gonna happen. Moving on, if you want to go for more control-ish, mid-range kind of deck there's that card called Alpha Maniac, which is awesome. It's similar to a Spitter, where you get 2 cards from 1 all the time, or almost all the time. So enemies creature in the same row as Hellfire Maniac gain Berserk. So that means that every creature that's in front of it is going to automatically attack it, so they won't be able to move or whatsoever. Just going to attack the Maniac, that's it. But every time, he doesn't have any retaliation, but every time he's getting hit or attacked, he deals 4 damage to the attacking creature. So let's put a scenario, 2 seconds here. Let's say he has a ghoul, and then he has a lich. So a 2/1/2 melee creature, and then there is a shooter, which is a 2/0/4. You put that Maniac in front, it kills them both at his turn because it attacks directly the Maniac, and it does 4 damage to them both. And it survives. So you see where this is going. It is quite a good card. More control-ish definitely because it has 3 damage, and its ability is mostly for getting the battlefield back and getting the advantage of the battlefield back. That's what I meant. However, this card is not being used that much, but if you're starting Inferno, I used to play these. They don't seem that strong, but 4 damage on melee is awesome, and 5 retaliation is quite strong as well. What sucks about this card is that it has Berserk, so you can't. Once you play it, it doesn't move; it just attacks. That's it. but the sweep attack with the 4 damage actually is pretty hard to counter. So most of the time this card doesn't seem to be that strong, but it was going 2 for 1. I was getting 2 cost advantage out of this one almost all the time. And it's pretty hard to deal with, really. 6 HP, as I said. Once you go above 5, you're in business normally. And of course you have those big creatures, but see it doesn't go there because it's more for like controlish deck. And yeah, we're not doing this for now. Moving on to spells of Garants, what you want to go for at the beginning is definitely these Firebolts. 2 damage is probably one of the best cheap removal you can get. An example, let's say you have a Juggernaut, which is a 4 damage creature that faces a 6 damage, a 6 HP creature. You use the Firebolt before, it goes to 4 HP. You finish him off, you don't even get retaliation. It's one of the best removal for the cost. Normally, Garant's player plays 3, 4, maybe 2. It really depends on what you go for, but that card can get you out of sticky situations, and it's so cheap. It's amazing. Try it out. Also, this card is not being played that much. However, the 2 damage, it's similar to the Firebolt, where you can use it as a removal, but you can also use it as a damage potential directly to the hero. This game actually got me a few games, this card, because they don't expect a 2 damage, and it can make quite a difference. Of course, it costs 2, requirements is 2 as well, because it is slightly stronger. But if you can time this correctly, Inner Fire can be quite awesome. I would definitely try a few, it's definitely worth it. Let's go back to Primal there, sorry. Moving on, if you play Garment, you have access to Power Magic. Power Magic helps you destroy target ongoing spells. It doesn't seem that strong, it is super strong. There's so much decks out there that utilize ongoing spells. And for 1 resources, sometimes they're gonna put their whole turn and even level up just to be able to put that ongoing spell in play. And if you have the spell magic, well, you get advantage in 1 second. So try to run 2 if you run Garen. It's definitely worth it. Any advanced player would actually play 2 for sure. Moving on, if you want to play Garant, as I said, you want to go for damage, you play Inferno. Try Teleport. Teleporting a Juggernaut or teleporting a Ravager, those 4 damage and 6 damage creatures, is amazing. You can, as an example, he puts a blocker in front, well, that's too bad, you teleport, do the damage directly to the hero, and sometimes a 4 or a 6 damage can actually mean you the game. This card, I really loved it. I played 3, I played 2, 3, 4. It really depends on what kind of gameplay you want to go for, but if you play those big 8 damage creature, it's even more worth it. Because you can use it as a removal as well. He plays, let's say, a big unique creature at 6 HP. You have your Ravager at the bottom row. Well, you just teleport it and get it, make it happen. 2 costs for removal. It still works. You get the advantage of the board. Anyway, this card is amazing. It's a common. Try it for sure. It's really good with Garant. Moving on. Another really used card out there is called Town Portal. So instead of fighting that creature with teleport and moving away, you just bounce it back to his end. Let's say for 1 turn he plays, let's say he plays big creatures, okay? And you have those small creatures in your, you have a row of small creatures that might want to survive because he's about to die whatsoever. He plays a big creature in front because you know he has enough HP to tank that damage, okay? Town Portal only costs 3, and it costs him his whole turn to put that creature down. Well, it's almost like a time warp, isn't it? For 3 costs, it returns to his end, and it's like nothing ever happened. That card finishes game. It is super good. If you can get your hands on a few of these, you'll see it's amazing with Garant. Moving on, considering removal, if you want to go for a mid-range kind of Garant deck, you might want to go for 4 magic. If you want to go for 4 magic, I think there's a 3 fireball at the beginning. Try to get 2, maybe 3 fireballs. It's amazing against Evan because they have to build the creatures together. It's good against Necropolis as well. It's awesome against Sanctuary as well. It is one of the best removal, and it's really good because it doesn't hurt your own creatures most of the time, really, if you play it correctly. Try them, it's amazing. And if you want to go for mid-range, try to maybe get 2 of 3. It's really going to upgrade your game. Moving on. Also, there's a few other options, guys, but as I said earlier, try to look at the decks, try to learn from how the decks are built. Normally, the decks that are posted on the Fan sites are quite strong, and from there, try to build your own alteration to the decks. If you have the chance, try Fire Wind and Flame.